I'm Nick Westergaard, and this is On Brand, helping you tell your story. My guest this week is Scott Grates.
One thing that has not changed is the human's need for relationships to be seen and heard and felt to be special like they are. And, we create top of mind awareness through a lot of what we do digitally, but where we make our biggest impact and where we become relevant and relatable and referable is through the eyeball to eyeball and human connection. And that's really where our focus is with consistency with this approach to doing referrals the right way.
Scott Grates is a visionary entrepreneur, an expert in strategic relationship marketing, having built multiple seven-figure businesses, including nationally recognized insurance agencies and a thriving real estate portfolio. A firm believer in the power of personal connections over digital noise, Scott helps entrepreneurs grow through his innovative Infinite Referral Advantage system. He is the best-selling author of Essential F Words for Teens and the upcoming Referrals Done Right. My interview with Scott Grates is coming right up, but first...
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more to reach the professionals who are more likely to find your ad relevant. Plus, with 1 billion members on LinkedIn, that means you'll have access to 130 million decision makers and 10 million C-level executives. That's a lot of millions of the right people. Get started today and see how you can reach the right buyers with LinkedIn's enhanced targeting tools. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
When you check out at the pharmacy, you see the journey from idea to medicine, thanks to our intellectual property system, or IP for short. IP safeguards inventions, like a new way to prevent seizures or lower cholesterol. And IP supports competition from other brands, then lower-cost generics, which are 90% of prescriptions filled in the U.S. Innovation, competition, lower costs, thanks to IP. Learn more at phrma.org/IPWorksWonders.
Scott Grates, welcome to On Brand.
Thank you, Nick. So excited to be here and have this conversation with you and your audience.
So your bio alluded to this a little bit, but I wanted to follow up. This is an increasingly digital world that we find ourselves in. So how do we navigate that and still place so much importance on personal connection? Are those at odds? How can it work together?
Yeah, great question. And, I guess they are at odds and they can work together. We have to be present, obviously, in the digital space. It's a digitally dominated world. It's only moving faster and faster in that direction with AI. And just for the record, I use all of that. I embrace all of that. But I'm also a contrarian. And I believe that what was once old is new again. And one thing that has not changed is the human's need for relationships to be seen and heard and felt to be special like they are. And, we create top of mind awareness through a lot of what we do digitally, but where we make our biggest impact and where we become relevant and, relatable and referable is through the eyeball to eyeball and human connection. And that's really where our focus is with consistency with this approach to doing referrals the right way.
And this has very much been a part of your story as well. So I want to back up a little bit and take a look at what led you here and to value this approach.
Yeah. So I didn't set out to become a business owner, to be an entrepreneur. I feel like it was always in my heart and my soul, but I worked in corporate America. I was always in sales. I had a very good career with HSBC, and in 2008, the financial crisis hit, and 6,500 jobs, including mine, were eliminated in North America. And I was like, oh gosh, now what? 2 babies in diapers, wife's a school teacher. And so I'm like, hey, why don't I just start my own business? That will help the finances, right? Wrong. And when I got in, frankly, I did everything the wrong way because I didn't know how. I wasn't, trained. I don't have an MBA. I didn't go to business school. I actually went to school to be a writer. And so, what I got told a lot from early mentors was don't reinvent the wheel. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And from a marketing standpoint at the time, it was this traditional DIRT, that's an acronym, direct mail, internet leads, referrals, telemarketing. And, one of those I found to have a high ROI, the referrals. But, like I said, I was doing it all the wrong way. I was just overspending in traditional methods, the same way the big, behemoths, Goliaths in our industry. And I'm in the insurance industry. So, you can't go 2 minutes of your day today without hearing from an insurance company about how you could be doing better and you should be doing better. And they spend billions of dollars on marketing and branding and advertising. And, my budget was like $4,000 a month as a small agency owner. But I was trying to compete in the same way those billion-dollar companies were. And, it just ultimately hit me that I had to double down. I had to go all in on relationship building, referrals, but specifically, this is the goose and the golden egg parable, where which is more important? Do you want the golden egg or do you want the goose that lays a golden egg every day? And so for the analogy, the golden egg are my prospects, my potential customers, the people I want to do business with. So I could spend crazy money in a traditional way that's white noise to try to get more golden eggs, or I can go all in on building relationships with the geese, the people who already have the relationships with the golden eggs, so that I'm top of mind. And, when the word insurance comes up, they think of me to send their customers to. And so really it's an approach of focusing on the few instead of the many through strategic relationship building.
All right. Well, I love a good analogy. Let's talk geese. So how do you do that?
Yeah. So the first step is to identify the people who are already doing business with the people you want to do business with. So, in my industry, it's mortgage brokers, it's realtors, it's car dealers, it's attorneys. These people are dealing with people who need insurance. And so they have the relationship, with them already. And so you get that point. The question is, how do you do it? And this is another, trial and error. I did this totally wrong in the beginning. I had this approach of, Nick, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. Here's what I can do for referral gifts. And if you do this, I'll give you that. And everyone kind of gets cringy and that's the wrong way to do it. And so, I switched from this scarcity to abundance mindset and this giver's mentality. And I said, I'm just going to show up to serve Nick. Nick might be a mortgage broker in my community. And I'm not going to even mention who I am or what I do. I'm just going to show up and ask a lot of questions around his business, his goals, his plans, his struggles, obstacles. Who is someone ideal for as a customer for him that I might know that I can refer? And the biggest piece to that, because we've all done that, I'm sure at some level, is consistency. When we talk about brand, we really dive into what's that one word problem that you can solve for people. So the business owners I work with now, the small business owners, solopreneurs, really we just hone in on consistency. So yes, it's great to show up and give and listen, but it's even better to do it every 4 weeks in some capacity that's meaningful, that's tasteful, so that after, and this is a long game approach, after a year and a half plus, of just consistently showing up, adding value and offering to help them, and then delivering on the things you say, they're like, I really like this guy. and the law of reciprocity kicks in, and now they want to help you as well. So it has to be done with consistency. It has to be done with the expectation of nothing in return. We don't give to get, we give just because we want to, and we're good people. And what will happen, and you got to have a little faith here, because a lot of these people you're already talking to have relationships with people, right? So this takes a little bit of time, but what will happen is they will reciprocate.
So do you run into, talking about consistency, people who have some reticence to that because they feel that they're having trouble kind of squaring consistency versus, am I being pushy?
No doubt. And again, I think it starts with the mindset of you're not being pushy because you're not asking for anything. And keep in mind, this isn't always showing up in person. We connect with our potential referral partners on social. So we talk about the digital space. This is a big part of it. We have to show our scars. We have to show our warts. We have to show that we're real. So the social content that we create is super impactful. We have to be authentic. And so, Nick, if you post something that is of interest to me and my audience, I want to share it. I want to fill your bucket. I want to, just be involved in the conversation. If you have events or different projects coming up, I want to support them. We do personalized greeting cards. We do strategic gift giving. I might see an article about branding or look for an article about branding, and then just send you an email saying, "Hey, Nick, I saw this. Might be of interest. Might help you in your business." So again, it's not always just showing up in person. And so don't think of it as being pushy. Think you're being helpful, right? It's moving people from head to heart. And, just like if you were my blood brother and you were in business, how could I consistently support you? And that's how I want to show up. So nothing pushy about it.
I love that. So your book, Referrals Done Right, dives into the power of word of mouth. Wondering if you can give us a sneak peek.
Yeah, it's actually, so my apologies. This is totally on me, but the book is out. I probably need to update my, my bio there. Shame on me.
Even better news. They can go get it after listening to this.
It hit the USA Today bestseller list the week it was released. I want this in my obituary. I was 141st on the most sold books in America, all genres. And Stephen King that week was 146. So when all the dust settles, he'll probably have a better career than me in the writing space, but for 1 week.
Context.
So the sneak peek is really, again, I'm a champion for the small business owner, for the solopreneur, most powerfully positioned to help the person I once was. And, I went through a lot of struggles and learned a lot of lessons the hard way. And so for people who are interested in relationship marketing, that's what this is, right? The title of the book is Referrals Done Right, but it really should be Relationships Done Right. The problem is that probably goes into a different section of the bookstore. So it didn't pass the title test, but it is relationship marketing at its core. There's 5 areas that we focus in on and ways to deliver with these people with consistency. And they all kind of start with S. And we talked about fellow small business owners in your community, your star customers, and understanding that your customers are an extension of your sales team. They're the best, right? With testimonials and Google reviews and word of mouth. We talked a little bit about how to create that brand and influence and be that local thought leader on social. The hidden gem that I don't think enough people focus on are the schools. They are loaded with your future customers, your future employees. Frankly, it's just a feel-good thing to do is to help the next generation. We want to keep talent local, and all plays well on social. And by the way, if you want to get to a parent's heart, serve their children. Right? Recognize their children, and the parents are your current, customers and potential customers as well. So we dive deep into the schools, and then the last S is service groups, civic organizations. Those are usually the super connectors in your community. So really high level overview. We focus on those 5 areas, and then come up with different strategies to stay consistent and top of mind with them without it feeling cringy or pushy, like you mentioned.
On Brand will be right back after this.
Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more to reach the professionals who are more likely to find your ad relevant. Plus, with 1 billion members on LinkedIn, that means you'll have access to 130 million decision makers and 10 million C-level executives. That's a lot of millions of the right people. Get started today and see how you can reach the right buyers with LinkedIn's enhanced targeting tools. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Global X. Since 2008, Global X ETFs has been committed to empowering investors with unexplored, intelligent solutions. Global X specializes in exchange-traded funds that offer exposure to the artificial intelligence ecosystem, including themes like data centers, robotics, semiconductors, and cloud computing. To learn more about Global X's entire suite of ETFs, from covered calls, fixed income, emerging markets, and more, visit globalxetfs.com.
Now, back to the show. So I'm thinking about what we've been talking about, referrals, relationships, and also thinking about this podcast on brand, where we talk about brand building and even personal branding. And I don't know that they'd be different sections of the bookstore, but they often get categorized differently. And I wonder how you see the relationship between referrals and relationship marketing and building one's personal brand.
Yeah, they're peanut butter and jelly, that's for sure. And I guess what I keep going back to is just authenticity. It's digitizing and monetizing yourself, who you are, being able to share with the masses, your message and why people should work with you, and why you're unique, why you're different. And so the personal brand, I truly believe that people, I know this has gotten a lot of, Scott Galloway did a thing on this, where people are the new brands. And we used to fall back to, certain slogans and colors and brands that we know, that we're like, hey, we know them, we like them, we trust them. And now you are the brand. And even back in 2009, when I started my first business, I had to send press releases to the local media to try to get them to show up, to get some eyes on me. Now, if you have a cell phone, you are the media. Right, wrong, or indifferent.
Yeah.
Very limited fact checking, but you are the media. So what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with that platform, and how are you going to have people perceive you? I joke all the time that I want to be the mayor of my town without the politics. I want to be just that well known. And I tell people that, I'm known for insurance and coaching and writing, but anything you need, right? I'm a connector. Anything you need, anything you have a question on, call me first. Right. And even if I don't have the answer, I can connect you to someone who does. And really that focus of being the go-to person to build that brand, which is built on relationships, ultimately leads to more relationships. And, what we're doing right now, frankly, is a game changer. If for someone asking, where do I start? You can start a podcast. With a laptop and a couple logins, right? I mean, it's not crazy. There's different levels, right? But my wife and I started a hyper-focused local podcast called Love Living Local 315. That's our area code in New York. And so we just provide a national feel platform hyper focused locally to awesome people doing awesome things in our community. We ask them, we invite them into the studio to have a conversation. Nobody says no. Well, we had some that are kind of, a little nervous to be on camera and talk about themselves, but most people, right, in this space want to share. We're giving them a platform of tens of thousands of people to share their message, asking for nothing in return. And the best way to learn about somebody is to interview them. Right. And so now after 30 minutes, we know this person on such a deeper level. And now we put them in our CRM system, and that consistent follow up where we keep showing up with value starts. And it's been an absolute home run just to connect with people that way.
Well, I love the idea of being the mayor without the politics. I feel like there's a joke to be made here because my wife is the mayor of our town, but with the politics.
With the politics, yeah.
So one of my favorite quotes comes from Brené Brown, who said that owning your story is the bravest thing that you'll ever do. And your TEDx talk on silencing that voice makes me think of that quote. I wonder if you'd share kind of a bit about your story and the role that self-doubt played in your journey, because I don't think we talk about that enough. And I think it's not only important for us to own our stories, but important for others to hear that as well.
Yeah, I appreciate the question and the opportunity to share. And this is where, I'm willing to get vulnerable to serve others. And, the quick recap of it is, so the Essential F Words book comes out, and that didn't hit a national bestseller list, but sold 5,000 copies in the first month. And we were advertising it here locally. And someone who coordinated a local TEDx event got a hold of me, sent me an email and said, "Hey, we'd love for you to be a speaker in our event this year." And Nick, immediately I was like, "Ooh, no. Like I've dabbled in this and that, and I've accomplished it, but I'm not a TEDx speaker, right? I'm not worthy of that stage, And I almost immediately sent that response, but I'm older now, and I let it, marinate, and I'm like, gosh, this is such a great opportunity, but what the heck would I talk about? And just battled back and forth for literally a couple of weeks, and it hit me. I said, "Scott, this is what you need to talk about." And it was being held at a local high school. I talked earlier about we're most powerfully positioned to serve the person we once were. Well, the person I was in high school was confused. I wasn't confident. I didn't feel I was, worthy of things. I grew up very poor, that other people had, opportunities other people had. And in here I am 47 at the time reading this email going, "Oh no, I'm not worthy of that. I'm not prepared. I'm not confident." And I'm like, "Dude, you're just a deteriorated teenager right now, like with this thinking." And so I'm like, this is what I need to share, is that, we all have that voice. It is standard operating equipment at time of birth that says you're not good enough, smart enough, strong enough, worthy enough. And, look, you're never going to get it to go away. But there is a formula to silence it. And it starts with recognition. I talk about using one of our apps, going back to digitally dominated world. So APS is acknowledge it, prove it wrong with some things that you have done in the past, and then silence it. Shh. And then just remind yourself, I got this. And, that simple process is something I get into as many high schools, middle schools as I can, and to share with them that, look, you have unlimited potential, but that voice will rob you if you let it. So acknowledge it, prove it wrong, silence it, and then move forward with the thing that scares you the most. And so that was my opportunity to, scared as hell, get out on that stage and share that message. But you're right, it doesn't get talked about enough. And it's not just teenagers, it's adults that deal with it too.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that here. So, from the apps system or acronym to your referral system, you've given us so many great tips here. But as we start to wrap up, and folks are thinking, I really need to think differently about how I approach these aspects of my business. What's one simple thing that folks could do to focus on the geese instead of the eggs?
Yeah. This is going to sound really simplistic, but that was the question, right? Simple.
Yeah.
First of all, create the list, write it down. There's power in writing things down. The second simple thing, but very difficult to do is start, right? Push yourself to do the thing that might scare you a little bit. And one way that we did this that I would recommend to the audience is, you're on social if you're in business, whatever platform you're most comfortable with, start a weekly community spotlight. Where you can introduce someone in your community who's doing awesome things to your audience, and then tag them in, and you're going to start cross-pollinating, and they're going to share it. And this is, I guess, where I can use my journalism degree. It's not a total waste, Mom. So I literally will do a 15, 20 minute, whatever it takes, interview with somebody who I want to connect with, to give them the opportunity to share their story. And then we take some pictures and I just promote them and their business and share it. And that's been a home run. And it's a pretty easy place to start. And again, back to technology, AI will help you with this, that you can go right to Chat GPT and say, give me 6 or 7 questions. You can cut and paste stuff from their website, their LinkedIn bio, and say, here's who Nick is. Give me 6 or 7 powerful questions to ask. And this is what I'm trying to do. And you've got your questions, just read them off and take notes and spotlight those people.
Awesome. I love that. And I love the power of writing it down, because I think a lot of times we inadvertently miss out on clarity because we think, I know what that is. I know who those people are. They're up here, and committing to that could surface that you might not too. So
never trust your memory. That's a great piece of advice that I was given years ago. And I'm like, like you said, I'll remember that. No, you won't.
No, writing it down. Love that. So, Scott, I have been smiling throughout this conversation, and it's now my turn to ask you for a brand that has made you smile recently.
Yeah. So in preparation for this, I knew this was your question, and I listened to a few of your guests, the podcast, and you do a great job. And thank you for having me on. Scott Monty. Right. So I had an answer, and then I listened to the Scott Monty episode, and he ended with Delta. And I was like, because Delta was my answer. So I'm gonna give you my answer. Sorry, the other Scott Monty stole it from me, but I'll give you 2, and I'll try to be quick about it. I know we're primarily on audio, but for video, this is a little index card, if you will, with branded from Delta, and fortunately, I've been blessed at this point in my life to be able to fly first class most places we go. I'm kind of snobby that way, but every once in a while, I'll get stuck back in row 16A, which is where I was this day because it's on the card. And when I got into my seat, in the pocket in front of the seat, it was a card that stuck out, and it said, "Hey, Scott, thank you for being a Gold Medallion member. We appreciate your loyalty, and thank you for always choosing Delta. Smiley face, Alex Z." And, it really just speaks to everything we've talked about on this episode. It's one thing to get on the mic and say, hey, you have a lot of choices when you fly. We thank you for choosing us, which is great. Mm-hmm. But then to go that extra mile and do a handwritten card. And, this is something that I've kept in my head and heart. And if Delta's a few more bucks than JetBlue or American or whoever, I'm still choosing Delta. I am more loyal to them and their brand now. So that was definitely something that made me smile. And you know what? I was going to share another one, but I'll leave it at that.
Awesome. I love that story. And definitely it's okay to have the same smile-worthy brand come up more than once. Scott, where can folks go to learn more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, just my name, all lowercase, all one word, scottgrates.com. The website kind of links you to all the different things I'm doing, allows you to connect with me, and we can start a conversation from there.
Awesome. And we will link up to all of that in our show notes, which folks can find at onbrandpodcast.com. Scott Grates, thanks for being on brand with us.
Thank you, Nick.
On Brand is part of the Marketing Podcast Network. If you like what you're hearing, if we've made you smile, you can always listen free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite platform may be. And please take a moment and rate and review the podcast to help others find the show. Until next week, I'm Nick Westergaard, and I'll see you on the internet.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Robbie Samuels hosts the On the Schmooze podcast. Robbie, tell listeners what to expect from the show.
Since 2015, I've interviewed entrepreneurs who overcame challenges to achieve success in their field or industry. Tune in to On the Schmooze to listen as I ask deep questions to elicit untold stories about leadership and networking.
And where can people subscribe?
Find the show at ontheschmooze.com or on marketingpodcast.net, or just search for it wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard them. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.